What's going on, everybody? It's Pelfrey, and let's just jump into the video. As you can see, I have the Neptune COR20. I'm running it in a bucket with vinegar and water. One of the ultimate reasons you should love a DC pump is you can actually power them down, run them in a bucket, and get them cleaned. It's been probably 8 months since I cleaned the pump, but I decided that since I was going to clean the pump, I'm going to go ahead and change my plumbing around. So I was running the reactor off the manifold, and at one point the Santa Monica Rain 2 was running off my manifold, but I just simply got tired of it taking up so much space. Not only that, but I ran across a post on Instagram where the gentleman had increased the output of his core going into his Red Sea tank using a 3/4 inch barb versus the 1/2 inch barb that is supplied with the Red Sea tank. So obviously, first things first, take out the manifold. Luckily I used a union, so that made it very simple. Now if you're going to notice this is the Red Sea Reefer barb, and whenever I took it out, I didn't apply any pressure to it. I didn't do anything abnormal. Part of the barb was broken, so it was really only a matter of time before this potentially caused other issues. Now, it may be a one-off situation, but it still terrifies me that after 2 years, that barb simply was broken. Like I said, I didn't apply any pressure to it or anything abnormal. Simply kind of just touched it, and it came out of the soft tubing. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to go ahead and take out the 1/2 inch barb and swap it out with a 3/4 inch barb, which is a simple, easy process. Add some Teflon tape to it. It doesn't necessarily thread in exactly, but a 3/4 inch fitting will fit in just fine. I also took the opportunity to take the core pump apart. You can see that it is pretty dirty, but I kind of expected it to be a little bit dirtier than it was. Again, it's been running in the tank for 8-ish months. That is also after the pump ran in vinegar and water for about an hour or two. Then I took the internal parts of the pump apart, if you will, which is just held on by magnets. And I saw something kind of disturbing. Now, I believe this is all plastic, but there's rust spots. And I'm definitely going to reach out to Neptune on this. And again, it may be a one-off scenario for me particularly, but I just wanted to kind of bring it to anybody's attention that's running these pumps. And I did post this on Instagram, so I'm curious to see what others say about their core pumps. I did swap the pump around 180 degrees, so the intake used to be pushed up against the glass. Now it's in an open area, and as you can see, I used some 3/4 inch tubing, which was again a simple swap out. Just change the end of the union out, add the barb fitting. This is the manifold that I pulled off of the tank, and basically it's a bulk resupply 1-inch bulkhead, so 1-inch T reduced down to 3/4 of an inch, reduced down to 1/2 inch here for 1/2 inch Murloc line. This obviously went to the tank. The Red Sea barb is still stuck in there. But this is reduced down to 1/2 inch union, and then a 1/2 inch true union ball valve. So the only reason I'm putting this in here is because if you have a Red Sea Reefer 250 and you have any use for this section here, I may have another ball valve here. Otherwise, I think I got this from PVC Fittings online. I really don't want to ship this whole section here, so what I can do is kind of maybe cut it down or whatever. But if you have any interest in this, reach out to me at pelfrey@hotmail.com, and maybe we can work something out. If not, I'm going to throw it away, and I'd rather just offer it to somebody first before I go through the, I don't want to waste it because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You may have to put some new tubing on it, but you can just take a razor blade and cut this off and add your tubing there. I use some little mounting brackets that I may have extras of to mount this to the top of the stand. So I wanted to throw this out there before I throw this away. Final result of removing the manifold. Obviously you can see that I have some real estate in the cabinet now, and I'm thrilled with the outcome. Now, I was lucky enough to have the 1-inch to 3/4 inch reducer that I needed for this fitting here, but I did not have plastic clamps. So I had to go to the hardware store, and I got some just typical metal clamps for now. I am going to order some plastic clamps for that. And again, this union right here pretty much saved the day. It made the swap go seamless, and I have a couple of these unions. I bought them on purpose from Bulletproof Supply that way, just in case I wanted to change anything out. So the pump is actually situated with the intake over here, whereas before the intake was over here, kind of pushed up against this glass. So I feel like it's going to get better flow. And to kind of explain myself, the pump previously ran at about 71%. Mind you, it had a 1/2 inch barb that went to a 1/2 inch barb. And then it ran the reactor here, and then at one point the Santa Monica Rain 2 algae scrubber that was here. But whenever I pulled that offline, I just had an output go back into the drain section of the sump. The pump is now running at about 65%, and I'm still adjusting the valve here to get the water level perfect in the overflow box. So I can tell automatically that I do have more flow going into the tank, and it's not nearly as restricted, obviously, because it's not a 1/2 inch input anymore as it was. Again, the piece that snapped earlier in the video belonged here, and it was a OEM Red Sea Barb fitting, and you know, I can't stress enough that I didn't put any pressure on it. I didn't do anything just abnormal to it. I simply touched it and it came apart. I didn't see any leaks or anything like that, so that's good. And I do have a leak detector underneath the stand connected to the apex that will start to shut equipment down if it ever is triggered. So there is kind of a fail-safe setup there, but obviously anybody with a fish tank, the last thing we want is to have any leaks, any water on the floor. We don't want to go through any of that mess right there. So, you know, the downside obviously now is that I'm not running a manifold. I figured I really don't need a manifold. The only thing that I am going to need a pump for is this reactor here. Excuse me. And I do have an MJ1200 hooked up to this reactor now. The unfortunate thing is that MJ1200 is loud. It's been a long time since I've turned that pump on, so I'm gonna have to buy another MJ1200, which is another 40 bucks. And you know, I've been running carbon for the last 2 months probably on a regular basis, so it's kind of something that I want to continue to do. I may set it up on its own timer to where it's not running all the time, but you know, it's something that I can definitely adjust. The other thing is a lot of the stuff that settles out in the return chamber now, and especially with the intake being on this side, I'll be able to take this little pipette that I have here and kind of blow that stuff back into the water column, and you know, maybe that can benefit the corals, maybe that can grab it, maybe it can benefit the fish, maybe it could just benefit the entire system altogether. So let's take a look at a closer look at the sump, the return section of the sump, and kind of give you my final thoughts. So again, I definitely gained some real estate here because I can now get to the pump easily. And this is the intake, and as I stated earlier, it was facing this way, pretty much up against the wall, so that may have restricted some of the flow as well. But you can see I've already got some stuff settling over here, and I have a pipette here that I just simply use to clean the sand bed. But I can actually blow that stuff now, and it'll go up into the return pump, it'll go into the tank, and again, you know, maybe it'll help out the corals, maybe it won't, but the one thing is for sure, it's going to go to the display, and it's either going to settle in the display and I'm going to blow it again, and it's going to come down and get caught by a filter sock, or it's going to float around the display, come right back down to the sump and go into a filter sock. So I feel like personally it's just a win-win situation for me. And here's the stainless clamps here. There's one there and then one up here. And quite honestly, I mean, I could leave it there. It's definitely, it's an eyesore, but they're never going to touch water. I mean, unless something leaks, knock on wood, but they're never going to touch water. So it's not really a concern of mine. But you can see that there is a slight bend in the soft tubing, and that's simply because of where the output is on the core pump. You know, had it been in this area here, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal, but obviously I got a 45 and a 45. A union to make things simple, and going back up into the tank. And again, I'm thrilled with this, and I'm so glad I ran across this on Instagram. Otherwise, I'd still have that manifold in here. And I didn't, you know, hate the manifold by any stretch of the imagination. It just, at this point, I really don't have a true reason to have a full-blown manifold on the tank. So, you know, it is what it is. This is kind of what I'm doing now. I do have plans again for this section here, and I probably need to change out the socks. But that's that on the new plumbing situation I have going on the Red Sea Reefer tank course. I have some holes up here on the top of the stand where I had the manifold mounted, but that's not a big deal. Nobody's ever going to see anything like that. So appreciate you following along. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section below. If you've seen any rust on your Neptune core pump, I'd be interested to hear about it. And trust me, I will follow up with Neptune on it. I will send them some pictures, try to see what they have to say about it. And I will let you guys know whatever I find out. So be sure to check me out on Instagram at Pelfrey's Reef. Check out the website at pelfrey.net. And I'll catch you on the next one.